studying remotely. And throughout this conversation, we'll kind of be talking about some very no-nonsense materials that can help you or assist if you are working from home or if you are studying as a student. So if we get into a section that I don't really talk about something that you'd like, feel free to pipe up at any time during this, and we'll talk about whatever it is that you'd like. But specifically, in this time of COVID-19, some of us who had hoped to be online students are remaining online students, and some of us who had hoped to be seated students have found that we're being pushed into a section that is very difficult for us to understand. And if you are a worker who is used to interacting with other coworkers all day, every day, now you're working remotely, and it's extremely difficult. Some people say they prefer it, other people not so much. So we're going to talk about it here. So the first thing that I think is probably something a lot of people have a hard time coming to grips with is when you work remotely, you have a great deal of freedom. You have time to do what you want to do and time that you have to do with work. But one of the important things to remember is that every item of freedom that you have comes with its own challenge. So let's look at a couple of the major ones that come along with that. When you are working from home, you have the freedom to talk with your loved ones, to talk with your family, to enjoy time with your pets. However, the challenge of that is that while you are supposed to be working, it is not unheard of, and in fact quite common, for there to be arguments. Someone comes up and asks you to do something. And so trying to explain to them that, yes, I'm in this house, but I need to be working right now can be a difficult conversation to have. Many times in the past when I was working from home, I might get a call and my wife would ask why I'm not vacuuming the house or why I'm not doing laundry. And now that we're all home together, the shoe is a little bit on the other foot, and no one is asking me that anymore because they come to understand a little bit more about what we're doing. You have some freedom in that you no longer have that commute, driving to work in the morning or driving to school, but that's also a challenge because you feel you can start whenever you need to start. And if work isn't done at the end of the day, it can sometimes be a challenge to walk away from that. If there's no distinct stopping point, it's difficult for you to say, I'm not available to do that right now. So the easiest way, and it seems like it's really tough, but the easiest way to maintain the balance that you're looking for is by creating boundaries, by saying, this is my time and this is my place for doing these things, and I can't really be bothered right now. Or this is my time for being with you. I'm not going to do any work or school stuff during that time. So you might think that, in this roadmap to life, boundaries and saying I'm not available and this is the time I'm going to start, these things will actually stop you from being able to do the things that you need to do, but actually boundaries increase productivity. I'm in advertising and graphic design, and constraints actually make things better because you know what to do and how to do them. So one real simple one is keeping your work in your workspace and keeping you in your space. The separation between when you're doing schoolwork and when you're working on your job and when you are at home relaxing can get very, very distracting. Because if you are working on the couch when you're at work and you're sitting on the couch when you're off work, it becomes very hard to distinctly manage when you're doing one thing versus when you're doing another thing. So the ideal workspace, and by ideal, it means the best, and it also means something that we cannot have, or most of us don't have, is to have an office that is away from everyone else, where you can shut doors and be behind walls. Of course, not everybody has that. If you're living in a one-room apartment, you might have a kitchen table, and that's it. So try to think about what kind of distractions you might have that might stop you from having that ideal workspace, and how you can kind of get in and really adjust to those. But the most important thing that I have found for designating a place to work or a place to study is make sure that that place is for work and nothing else. So I want to stop on this point here for just a second and tell you a little bit about me. My name is Tyler Dockery. I'm an associate professor of advertising and graphic design here at Wake Tech. I've been working here since 2005, and I've been teaching courses online since 2006, which means over the last, is it 15 years? Almost 15 years, I have been trying to juggle working in an office for seated classes and trying to deal with classes and students who I will never physically see. I will never be able to assist. And working from home seems like it will be a great and exciting opportunity to watch TV while you work or to talk with your family. But if you don't have a separation between these things, your life begins to blend together and you do neither of those jobs very well. So when we talk about here designating a place for work and nothing else, it is very possible that you might work at the dining room table. And if it gets too noisy, you might get up and move to a kitchen area or a room where you can be by yourself. But when you are in those places, make sure that it is a place for you and your work. Now, this doesn't mean you can't work outside. You can sit on your porch. You can take a chair and go put it out under a tree if you have a yard or a location. But it's important to understand that when you are sitting in that location, you are sitting there for work. You are doing your work in that place. Otherwise, you could flippantly get up and walk away and find that too much time has passed, you've missed deadlines, people are counting on you, and you're not there to help them. So try to focus on designating a place where you feel comfortable. Now, in times when we are not experiencing social distancing, if you're finding that motivation is tough, sometimes it's helpful for you to go to some kind of a shared workspace. Find a friend who you might be able to work while they are working. You're not doing the same things, but you're occupying the same spaces to keep you on task. Here in the times of COVID-19, where you're supposed to be at least 6 feet away from everybody at all times, these kind of open office environments probably don't exist anymore. Will we be coming back in the fall with 6 feet between every person who is in the classroom? I don't even know, to be honest with you. But you can still work and gain motivation from your family, from your friends, just kind of seeing what's involved. Now, one thing that you are probably thinking is when I'm at home, how can I stay motivated? How can I focus? And basically, when you're home, there are two things which are stopping you from being motivated. It is a visual distraction or an audible distraction. So common visual distractions, there's people. There are people that come up, they're asking you questions, they're running through rooms. There are screens on televisions that are stopping you from focusing on your work or on your computer, reading your book. Another visual distraction, I had it on here originally, but I kind of wanted to get rid of it, is windows. For me personally, a window is nice because it lets a lot of light into the room, but unfortunately, a window also tends to have me staring out and trying to figure out what's going on in the world around me. So when you're trying to find a place for you to work, find a place that is as free of visual distractions as possible. While it might be nice to have a desk in front of a window so you can get lots of light, if you find that you're staring out the window, it might be better for you to have a desk in a corner that faces a wall. Yes, that might make you feel a little cooped up, and you're already in the house for weeks now. But If you are working when you are at this work desk and not being distracted, and then you go and enjoy your home life when you're not at that desk, um, it's one of the things that you can kind of trade off. So when you're working, make sure you have plenty of good light. I don't know about you, but I wear glasses. I wear glasses because I don't see well, and staring at computers all day doesn't really help that. So having good lighting is an excellent way for you to make sure you're happy in your space. Um, but the opposite is true. Make sure that you have the right amount of lighting, because if you are working outside but you can't see your computer monitor, that's also a fail. So think about what possible audible distractions you have and how you might adjust that. Now, granted, these things you have no control over. I have two children. They're, shouting out about something exciting that they see. They're running through the room. They're, finding a musical instrument and honking on it or clapping it all day long. There's construction and lawn work going on. In this time when everybody's home, a lot of people are paying attention to their yards, and it can get real loud. Also, dogs or other pets. I'm not a big cat person, but we do have two cats, and they like to sit on my keyboard or come and scream if they feel they haven't had enough food lately. So trying to do your best to drown those out will also help you have a good working space. Headphones are a nice way to work this out. My wife has a set of noise canceling headphones that allow her to be in the moment when she is working. Sometimes I wear headphones just to have something covering my ears a little bit so I can be focused on what I'm doing. But a lot of you out there may work better if you have the radio on or some music to help keep you focused. If that's the case, definitely try to get some headphones. Maybe you have an old pair lying around. Maybe they only work in one side. But try to make sure that you help yourself to feel comfortable while you're there. Now, you may not be able to go out and get some headphones, or you may have some junky headphones. If that's the case, some speakers could be helpful. You might have a white noise machine. One of my coworkers has a fan that's under her desk, and most of the blades are broken. The fan isn't really there to push air around as much as it is to have some white noise going on so that there is a buffer between working in the office and the noises that are out there. So there are ways that you can deal with this without having to have an expensive set. I work from home. And so, as I was mentioning earlier, when I am working from home, there is a lot of time when someone is asking me, I need to do something. And you might find that you are studying, and there are things that you have to study in certain orders, or you have choices, and you may find that you have a lot of clutter around, and that distracts you from being able to work. So as you are working from home, one of the other important things that you need to do is just make these decisions. And when you make a decision about what you're going to study in what order, am I going to clean things up? Do I need to call people? Which email do I need to make decisions about? For every one of these, there's actually two steps to deciding. And number one is, what's the next step? You read the email. What are you going to do? Is it that you need to email someone back? And I apologize, I'm going to have a train coming through here in a second, so it's going to get loud. What's going to be the next step? And then outside, oh gosh. So over on the other side of the tracks is the good side of town. So think about what the next step is going to be for every decision that you are making. But it's not always so important what is the next step as much as it is when are you going to do that step. So for instance, if you decide that it is too distracting in here, you're going to remove all of the children's toys. That's great. when are you going to do that? Are you going to do it right now? Are you going to do it as soon as your day ends today? Are you going to do it first thing in the morning tomorrow? Are you going to do it in 15 minutes? Um, Deciding when you're going to do something can help you lump your activities together. And this will become a little more interesting as we move on, but you know that there are times when you are going to be ready to work, and there are times when you are not ready to work. So make sure you have set aside your time appropriately. Process your personal items and your career items at the same time. If you are not smart about what you do, you can end up getting up and fixing something, sitting down and getting ready to work. Before you get into what you're going to do totally, then you get up and go do something else. A lot of us have attention deficit issues, and it's very easy to find yourself in a spot where you want to fix just one thing and move on. But it would be better if you made decisions and then took all of your personal items and cleaned them up, and then sat down and did all of your career items in one big block, and then got back to work. So there are some times when you are going to be introspective, and there are some times that you need to talk to people. Putting your career items together when you are talking or calling friends and family, coworkers, put that all into one block. This will help you save time, and you won't be switching gears so much. Switching gears is honestly one of the most time-consuming things out of everyone's day. If you're making a call and taking some notes, and then you're making another call and taking some more notes, and then you're making a third call and taking some notes, that's very easy. Then you can sit down and work on all of those notes, and then go on to some introspective work or filling out papers. If you block your materials, you can save time and stay on track. It's not easy, though, believe me. So this is an issue that I run into, and I ran into a lot when I was starting to work from home. That is, you should have a set of tools for your home, and you should have a set of tools for your work. I often run into this problem where I'm thinking, why buy one when you can buy two for twice the price? I do a lot of home construction around here because I have an old house, and when I need a tool, I need it right away. But what I tend to find is that I am doing something and I need the stapler, but I have taken the stapler to a different part of my house. So I have to stop working and get up and run around and find it, and then staple it, and then go back to work. Later, I will pay a bill and I will try to clip my statement together, and I don't know where the paper clip anymore is. That was really bad English. I don't know where the paper stapler is. So I have to look all around for it. So what I have found is that over time, if I keep a cup full of pens, perhaps it's a broken mug, perhaps it's a plastic cup, with pens and pencils, if I have a ruler in my office area, if I have a stapler and a tape dispenser over there, an X-Acto knife or a pair of scissors, I don't have to run all around the house. And if a worst case scenario comes up when I'm working around the house and one of my children has taken the stapler and not returned it, I know I can always go to my office desk and find one and use it and then leave the room again. So if at all possible, and it may not be possible for you, try to keep a set of work-related tools where you work, and keep your home-related tools elsewhere. That way there's no cross-contamination. You don't lose things, because looking for things take time. Okay, one other thing is some people work with inboxes and outboxes, and I'm real bad about this. I don't really have one. Um, but my wife is very smart. She has put a series of baskets in the closet. And if she needs to pick up in a hurry, she grabs the items, goes to the closet, and puts my things in my basket and my daughter's things in their baskets and her things that she doesn't want to deal with right now in her basket. And then it's dealt with. If anything is missing, one of the first things that she can always say is, well, did you look where it's supposed to be? And if she did, or if we did, then she can say, okay, well, did you look in your basket? And working with those little drop points or gathering points is an easy way for us to understand that maybe if we have a couple of minutes, we can go to that gathering place and put things where they go. For her, she can take things out of her outbox and put it into my inbox, and then she knows that I will deal with it during the day. And outboxes and inboxes, they don't have to be anything exciting. It can be a cardboard box. You can always roll up a piece of paper. And if you don't feel comfortable working in that method, try to find something where you know this is where you put things you have to deal with every day. If you know where that location is, it's very easy to go there and see what, if anything, has gone there. You may find drawings from your children in there. You may find emails in there. You might find a sticky note that says, make sure to mow the lawn. Think about all the things that you have to deal with. Okay, so this section is something that is for both teachers and students, which is just this idea of what's the biggest problem about working from home. And usually the biggest problem, and I find this with a lot of different people, is that they're racing all the time, but they're not doing it the right way. So I want to kind of talk about that. Have you ever seen someone who is running a marathon and someone who is running a race? Okay. The person who finishes the race is elated, they're excited, their blood is pumping, and they're ready to move on to the next thing, or they're ready to take a pretty serious break. Have you ever seen someone who has just finished a marathon? If you're a marathon runner, please don't take this personally, but they look rough. They are hot and sweaty. They have been running for 26 miles, and they're ready to lay down. Maybe not all of you, but running a marathon and running a race are two completely different things. If you run a marathon, like the finish line is almost never in sight. If you run a race, you know where you're starting, you know where you're going to finish, and you have a really good idea of what your time is going to be. So for many of us, driving to work allows us to be in our office at our starting time. For some of us, being a student means you know at X amount of time your projects are due. So when you're working from home, I heavily suggest set yourself up with a start time. Set yourself up with a finish time. When are you going to begin working on your day? And when are you going to say, at this point, my day is over? It is always possible to extend these times, but if you have a set time when you know you're going to start and you know you're going to finish, you have something to look forward to at all times and you won't get caught off guard. Again, setting those boundaries is good for you and it's good for your work. You know, hey, I need to be done by 5 o'clock today. You know, I can go 15 or 30 minutes over. But I've got to get as many of these items done by 5 o'clock. What can I finish now? But I think it's also important to note that, you know, an 8 to 5 working day, that doesn't really work for everybody. But it's a good idea of getting a plan together of how long you are going to work and when you're going to stop working. So that allows us to have a great deal of flexibility. But unfortunately, because we are flexible and many of us are ambitious, we want to do a good job. We want to make sure we're doing what we're being paid to do or what our expectations are. Then you have to make a conscious choice. And if you want to have a successful time working and planning from home, you need to stick to that. You need to say, I am always going to be at work at 8:30 in the morning. I am always going to stop working at 7 o'clock at night, or whatever your times happen to be. So when you're trying to determine when you're going to start your day, you probably want to think about a couple of different things. How much time do you need to sleep? And what is your health like? So, for instance, one of the friends that I went to college with, he has got to absolutely have 8 hours of sleep every single day and at least 4 to 8 hours every single night. Okay, that's a joke. But in all honesty, how much time do you need to stay asleep so that you can feel ready and rested for the day? And what is your health like? You may find that now, during the time when trees are dropping pollen like crazy, you need to get an extra 30 minutes of sleep if you are going to feel good, or you need to have a little bit of exercise in the morning to get you started. So if you are someone who falls in the middle, 8 hours of sleep a day, then you can go to bed at a reasonable time, say 10:30 at night, and wake up at 6:30 in the morning. But if you are thinking you're going to roll right out of bed and directly into work, uh, that is a problem. Many of us need to have a little bit of time to transition in the morning and when you get off work. For a lot of us, this can be part of our, get some coffee, get some breakfast, you drive to the office, and by the time you roll in there at 8:30, you're ready to go. But now that you're working from home, that transition time becomes very important real estate on your calendar. You need to have some time where you have a little bit of time for yourself. You live with your family or you live by yourself and you want to have some you time so it's not all work and no play. But a good plan is to go ahead and set on any kind of a calendar device that you might have what your starting line is so that you can be ready for that. Again, this transition time becomes really, really important. If you shut off your computer and then go to bed, if you wake up in the morning, turn on the coffee machine, and then roll right into the office, you will start to very quickly hate your job. You will do poorly in school. You will not have any time that is set for yourself. So, having a transitional time between going to work and personal obligations is nice. This transitional time is something you can set up for if work goes a little bit longer than usual. It can be a time when you can work on something that's fun for you, but without a transition between work expectations and study expectations and family and personal life expectations, there will start to be a lot of friction in there, especially if one thing takes more time than possible. So work that transition time into your schedule so that you don't end up going crazy. All right, rhythm. You are not relentless. Okay, you need to work when you know that you are at peak working efficiency, and you need to take a break when you are not at peak working efficiency. So let's kind of talk about that just a brief little bit. When you are looking at your schedule, you may notice that there are some times on your schedule when you have expectations. You need to read your emails a couple of times a day. If you are not constantly on, please don't be constantly on. There are times when you need to fill out paperwork. There's times when you need to read things. There are times when you need to take part in discussion boards. There are times that you need to block out for working on large assignments. But there are also times during the day when there are less expectations. And these open moments on your calendar are really important. This is time when you can schedule time for you And this is time when you can work on lesser activities. But if you know that you work best first thing in the morning, you know that from 8:30 in the office until 11:30, you work very strongly, you're very motivated to get a job done, and then you take a break for lunch. You come back from lunch and you're a little tired, and the day kind of drags for a little while. And then maybe about 3 o'clock, oh, look, the end of the day is coming up. You're very excited. Maybe the beginning of the morning is when you want to focus and schedule and set aside times that are going to take the most active parts of your day. And times when you are a little bit logy and a little bit tired, maybe that's when you need to be interacting with other people so that that back and forth can give you some energy to finish the day strong. And maybe that 3 to 5 time when you're excited about the end of the day, and who's not excited about the end of the day, really? When you're excited about the end of the day is a time when you can early on assess where you need to be and what it's going to take to get you there. And then you can focus on completing pieces that need to be done by a certain timeline. Now, granted, as a student, you're probably going to be pulling an all-nighter once a month. As a worker with deadlines and responsibilities, there are probably times when I know I, as a teacher, am grading work from 7 o'clock at night until 1 o'clock in the morning, a couple of days a week. It's pretty standard. But focusing on the times that are important for you and that you are at peak efficiency is going to help you get the most work done in the most efficient manner. And if you're not really sure when those times are, take a couple of minutes throughout your day and have a look at them. But whatever you do, make sure that you expect interruptions. Nothing is going to be perfect. So how do you stay motivated? One of the best ways for you to stay motivated is to make sure that you are working in break time. You are not relentless. You can't work forever. But if you have a break and you just sit down and breathe deeply for, 3 minutes and then you get back to work, that was not really a very good break. Make sure that you are looking forward to your breaks. I kind of call these an oasis. So you want to have a work oasis that's about 10, 15 minutes long, maybe 20, about every hour and a half to 2 hours out of your day. This means that at about the 90-minute mark, attention really starts to fade. So about every 90 minutes to 2 hours, take a break so that you can refresh yourself, stop working, shake your limbs out, grab a glass of water, whatever it is that you need, so that you can roll back into the job refreshed and ready to go. If you have sat down and read and taken notes on a textbooks for 90 minutes, first of all, congratulations. I was never able to do that in school ever, and I have a master's degree, so I've been in school a while. Just make sure that the time that you have set aside is going to be meaningful for you. So what are you going to do during that time? It can be something that will get you re-energized. I had a coworker who used to shadow box. So I would see him through the window, get up and start making punching like gestures, because that got his blood pumping and he was ready to go. Maybe you have something that's more low key. You like to hear 3 songs in a row of something that you want to hear, and then you get up and go back to work. Not every break is going to be the same. Do something that's fun for you. So another thing about meaningful breaks is have something that's fun for you at the end of the day. If you don't have something to look forward to in your personal time, what is going to stop you from continuing to work? So look and see, are there things that you like to do? Do you like to transition playing video games at the end of the day? That's perfectly fine. I like to paint miniatures, so I have a bunch of paints in my house, and I try for 30 minutes to an hour every single day to try to paint and become a little bit better at what it is that I do. Maybe you enjoy playing with family. Maybe you enjoy reading a great book. Make sure that at some point during the day, you have some time that's set aside to be exciting just for you. If you don't, it's all projects and no rewards. You get off work and then you have a meal, and then you sit and watch television, and then you go to sleep. Then you get up in the morning and you get ready and you have a meal, and then you go to work, and then you have a meal and you go back to work, and then you get off work, you have a meal, watch TV, and go to sleep. Life becomes very boring. So set aside some time that's good for you. So working at distance, whether you're an employee or a student, communication becomes key. But there are ground rules and policies that could change at any time. And if you are not aware of them, it may fail to inspire confidence. So we'll talk about that for just a minute. You may think that working from home means you won't work as hard. But actually what happens is people who work from home work more than people who are working at a desk job. And people who are studying from home often find that they are motivated to work harder. Or on the other side of it, your boss may think that you are not working all the time. Or you may think that because you're working from home for school, you only need to set aside 2 hours a day or 4 hours a week for your homework, and that's not going to cut it for your teacher, and you start to fall behind. So as we get into this environment about communication, some of these conversations are going to be hard. What are your working hours? What does your boss expect your working hours to be? If these things are not always in alignment, finding out and discussing that is going to be a strong key to doing a good job. So once you have a plan of when you're going to be working, go ahead and pass that along to your boss or to your teacher and make sure that you've got enough of a connection. But there are also certain unwritten rules. And the unwritten rules might seem like you are having a great deal of flexibility, but you actually don't. So what are some unwritten rules that you might fall into? So for instance, what is your email response time? Here at the school, we try very, very hard to respond to emails. But what does your boss expect you to do? As an online teacher, I expect that my students will check their email twice a day. Once in the morning, so that if something new has come up, they can respond to it. And then once in the late afternoon or evening, so that if something different has come up, they're ready and available. If they're not checking their emails twice a day, they might miss a deadline and they might get in trouble. And when they look back and see, oh, he did send an email, then they really don't have a leg to stand on. Similarly, you may have a departmental policy that all emails are returned within 48 hours, or perhaps all emails are returned within 24 hours during the work week. You may even have a policy that you need to answer emails up until 7, 9, 11 o'clock at night and on the weekends. But if you don't know when your established email response time is, you might find that your boss is losing confidence or they don't think you're doing work. Hey, I emailed you at 9:30, but you didn't respond until 11:45. I needed that answer then. Your teacher may expect, as I and many online teachers do, that the first day of the week you will go into the class, you will look at all of the materials, and you will make an original discussion entry on the first day of the week. Then it is expected that you come back on the third or fourth day of the week and respond to as many people as you can respond to. If you don't know these unwritten rules, you may find yourself in a very awkward spot. So again, communication becomes key. When are you at work? Are you working? Are you learning? when you are in a building, the boss can see you. They see when you're there, they see what you're doing, they see your head is down. Um, but when you are at a distance, your teacher or your boss can't see you anymore. Did you reply to their emails and their inquiries fast enough so that they know you're doing what you're supposed to be doing when you say that you're doing it? What are the expectations? If you don't have any expectations, unwritten rules can cause problems. So for instance, in my classes, if you didn't get an email fast enough, I expect a phone call. In some departments, the expectation is you will have your phone with you all day, and you will take and send text messages all day. Or maybe you're on a messenger service and you need to respond to the messages within the messenger service. If you don't know what these expectations are, if you have not told everyone, yes, I will be on my phone from this time to this time, expectations may be set that you are unaware of, or people may think they can call you anytime and expect a response within minutes. So just make sure that if there are set expectations within your department or your division or your classroom, make sure that you're looking in the faculty information tab if you're a student. Find out how they want to be reached and in what manner and in what order. If you're working in a department and you've heard somebody grumble about lack of communication, make sure that you find out what those expectations are. Now, is your boss happy? How can you determine what you need to do to put their mind at ease? For many students, doing one original entry at 50 plus words, which is 4 sentences, and responding to 3 other students in a discussion board makes your boss happy. If you responded to 6 students, that's going to make them super happy. But if your boss doesn't know things are going on, they won't really be happy. How are they going to evaluate you on your effectiveness in the class, your effectiveness in the workplace, if they can't see you every day? For many of us, that means how fast are you in responding to problems? Are you doing what you are supposed to do? Are there upset emails coming from students? Are faculty members complaining, hey, I tried to take this training and it didn't work out? Who's responsible? So just make sure that communication remains key. If you don't know how you're going to be evaluated, how are you going to know how effective you are being? So with virtual meetings, which is something that is big in the classroom right now, you got to make sure that you are planning for success. So for instance, today, I came into this meeting, but someone had started it, and because someone had started it, I was not going to be allowed to record it, and I was not going to be allowed to do screen sharing. I had to leave the meeting and show up right on time to get that to work for me. But if I had shown up late to this meeting, it would have been a bit of a failure. So what kind of things can you think about when you're looking at virtual meetings and making sure that you are going to be successful? Remember, when you're not there, impressions are the only things that are going to let people know whether you're effective or not. So you want to close distracting browser windows so that you don't get distracted when you're on the meeting. You want to close email down so that there's not a ping going on, or someone says, oh, I have one quick question, and then you have to type that while you're in your meeting and miss something. You want to arrive early. Ryan did a great job. He was here even before me. If you're early, then you're not late. So make sure you've set up your camera. Make sure that you're ready to share your screen. If you guys got on my screen and there was a picture of one of my children hitting somebody with a water balloon, that might not be appropriate for the workplace environment. So you need to make sure that you have your ducks in a row as far as meetings go. Reducing background noise is important. So before today's meeting, I went around and told my wife and my kids, hey, I'm going to have this webinar. My wife is also having a meeting right now, so you might be hearing her. I also have a dog that's walking around. You might hear him grunting like a pig all over the place in here. But making sure that you can reduce background noise is extremely helpful. Now, some of this, as we mentioned earlier, you're not going to have an opportunity to fix. I cannot stop the train from coming through. I cannot stop the neighbors from mowing their lawn. So not everything is in your control. Make sure that you are removing visual distractions if you're finding yourself on camera. I'm real bad about this because my house has a lot of those going on. But Zoom and Teams allows you to put different backgrounds up which can hide that material. Match the standard dress code. Again, this is something which is an unwritten rule. How are you supposed to dress when you are home? Today I'm wearing one of my blue Wake Tech shirts, which I normally wear every single day. I have 7 of these. But in all honesty, apart from today, I have not worn a Wake Tech shirt since March 12th. It's a long time for me. But for other people, when you are in a meeting within our departments, we all dress down when we are at home. But if the video meeting requires everybody to be dressed up, you need to make sure that you are also dressed up. All right. Just because you're at home in COVID doesn't mean that you have to stop the relationships that you have. Be aware of the obvious. Are there birthdays? Are there special anniversaries that are going on? Being aware of these things and talking about them with your coworkers or your student friends or your teachers is a great way to help build those relationships. Similarly, don't forget to pick up any loose bricks. And by that, I mean things that you guys might have in common to help build that foundation. Do you share a personal hobby or interest with your teacher, your faculty members, your boss? Bringing those items up can help to bring that relationship closer together, even if you're not in the same room with them or you don't meet them for a time. Now, as we're moving into this last section, it may not really apply to everybody, but it's a big part of our lives. What are we going to do about our family? We're at home and we're trying to get an education. We're at home and we're trying to finish up our jobs. We can't ignore the people that live with us. So one of the things that you can do to help work from home better is discuss specific numbers with people. I have to tell my kids, hey, from 1 o'clock until 3:45, I have a live video meeting. So if you want to get together and do things, let's do that right between noon and 1. Similarly, I'm going to be in the ILC from 4 to 7 on Tuesday and Wednesday nights. If you need something, I need to know about it ahead of time. I can't help with dinner tonight. So discuss specific numbers. Chances are very likely that, if you're talking with an adult, it's going to be real easy. If you're talking with a child, it may be kind of tough. Quiet time. One of the things that works for us is if you have a young child, you can say, okay, from 1 until 2:30 or 1 until 3, I need to be in your room and have some quiet time. This allows my wife and I to work, and it allows my kids to be off by themselves. It lets them know that they don't have to be entertained 24 hours a day. They can find something to entertain themselves. But they also know that during quiet time, if they have a serious issue, they can definitely come and talk to us. Create a schedule for your pets. Our pets are very special people. I have 3 dogs and 2 cats and 2 kids. So trying to make sure that everybody is taken care of, and also a wife and myself, making sure that everybody is taken care of is hard. And it might be easy at first blush to kind of forget our pets. But they really thrive on a schedule. They want to eat at a certain time. They want to know that you're there at a certain time. There are some times that they're going to want lots of attention. Sometimes they want to know they can get intermediate attention, and sometimes they want to know that it's time for them to be on their own. So don't forget to schedule time for your pets. Okay. Again, list and discuss all the home responsibilities. You may find that chores are still having to get done, and people may expect you to do those even if you are at work. So make sure that you have an open and honest discussion about that. This doesn't affect us right now, but when you're working from home, in a time between that you are working and your children will come home from school, it's a good idea to have a little bit of buffer time in there so that a long project can kind of get wound down, or that you can transition so that maybe your kids can have a snack as soon as they come home, right? So they don't get hangry and yell around the house. Similarly, after the time that the kids have arrived, if you need to have a little bit of buffer time with them to kind of get ready for homework time or to get ready for dinner and things, make sure that you work that buffer time and transition into your daily menu again. So this is a toughie. Sometimes your coworkers will call you, your wife will ask you a question. Being able to just very quickly and succinctly say, "Can this wait?" is a great way to find out what's really and truly important and what is something that can wait just 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Um, this is a great way to make sure that you're keeping you time for you and work time for work. Okay, family oasis. Um, you have these little workday oases and a personal oasis where you set aside time for yourself. But if you're not setting aside time for you and your family to be together, um, you're going to start losing those bonds. So make sure that there is something that you are looking forward to do with your family. Maybe it's something as simple as, you are all going to sit down to dinner together. Maybe it has to do with singing a song. Maybe it has to do with checking over homework. That's not a good family oasis. Don't do that one. But just making sure that you have something set aside where everybody can be together. And the last little item I want to say here is don't forget the people that are most important for you. You're working hard, and when your day is done, you might very well be exhausted. And they're probably going to be exhausted too. Your kids are going to be tired. Um, Again, having those conversations where you say, "What would you like us to do together each day?" will help you to kind of understand that family oasis. So if you know for a fact that you would really just like to sit on the porch with your loved one and just say, "Hey, how was your day today?" That's an important thing about working from home. If you know that you would like to sit down with your family, and so this is going to show you what kind of a nerd I am. Uh, my family likes to sit down and watch Star Trek: The Next Generation. Uh, Yeah, I know. But anyway, Star Trek: The Next Generation, we like to watch it together as a family and be a bunch of nerds together. And it's a bonding activity. Every Friday we have pizza and we watch a movie. Um, so these activities where you talk about what is it that you want to do with your family, it's really important to keep those bonds close. It's really important to stay close to one another and understand that you're all important. You're all important together. And without one of you, everything could fall apart. So at this time here, I want to open up to questions. Um, are there any questions that you guys want to talk about? One of the big things that we talked about earlier was what can we do if I need help from the ILC? You can email the compututor at waketech.edu. If you're a student, it is part of Blackboard's course resources section. I heavily suggest that you have a look at that. We can get you access to people who are good with software, people who are good with helping you plan out how you might work on a paper, giving you some little one-on-one additional help if that's what you need, or how you might work together in a group. Perhaps it's even great for looking at math together. Not my strong suit, but we can get you in touch with people who are. And again, being motivated can be really, really tough. So if you guys, I'd like to open this up.
I don't know. I mean, I just really want to make a good grade, and like, I think I just really want to understand better what's going on in my classes, because if I'm going to be working in these fields, I really need to know what's going on. So that's I mean I mean, I wish I could say something like profound and inspirational, but that's pretty much it, you know. Like, I just really want to be able to like do my assignments well and get a good grade at them on them rather.
I think that's a great thing. A lot of people, they check in, they do their work, and then they check out. And they might find that they're covering the same ground every time. It can be really good to research and be motivated and try to say, uh, I really want to be good at this field, so I'm going to take some time today and I'm going to I'm going to Google search great logos, and I'm just going to see what makes a great logo, or I'm going to research award-winning business cards, which I don't even know if that exists. Uh, but you can see what the competition is up to, and you can say to yourself, "Can I do that or something close to that?" And I think that's great. How about you, Amanda? How do you stay motivated?
I'm not sure that I'm doing a great job of being motivated right now, so I
You're
don't
doing
know
a
if it's the
great
best
job.
answer.
Fantastic.
I think what one of the things that does motivate me now is being sure I'm supporting the people who work for me,
Hmm.
um, and letting them know I appreciate them, but also being there for technical questions or helping them keep in touch with their students. And so I think just being a support um, helps me kind of stay more focused when my mind starts to wander, which it does quite a bit lately.
I think that's fantastic. I can tell you that as a faculty member who works remotely, there are times when I am doing what I'm required to do, and I feel like I'm getting back to the students in a timely manner. Um, but I'm still going to have questions. Many times during advising, we may not know what's going to be the best way to solve these problems. And when I reach out to my supervisor, when I find that I can get an email back in a timely manner, or if I get a proactive email, hey, everybody, let's remember that during advising, we want to make sure everyone's got the latest program planning guide. Um, getting a word from up above that uh, everything is fine, we're being looked after, and people are thinking about us is great. It takes a lot of the pressure off of just kind of that idea of your boss doesn't see you at work all the time. Are they thinking you're doing a good job? And how can you make sure that you're meeting their needs? So good for you. Um, are there any thoughts that you guys might have about this? Any questions that we might want to discuss?
Well, one thing I did want to bring up was that you did emphasize a lot about the importance of um, it was very interesting. Like, usually, in discussions about productivity, there's a lot of stuff about, well, you got to work hard, and there's a lot of stuff in that direction. But it was really interesting that you sort of like sort of emphasize the negative space, so to speak, like in terms of like taking breaks, getting adequate sleep, and making time for your family and your friends, and maintaining friendships and things like that. Um, like typically the conventional wisdom around planning out your day and getting a lot of work done always it just really centers around work as much as you can and kind of like whip yourself up into a frenzy daily, but it seemed to be like the opposite for you. um it was not like, well, just frantically keep working all day every day, don't sleep, don't eat, just work, and it was very different. And I thought that was really interesting and pretty cool.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. When you are home, sometimes it's really hard to differentiate when you're working and when you're taking a break. And I'm sure that some of you or all of you have probably gotten into a space where um, you're working so hard all the time that it starts to get really frustrating, and you start to question, maybe this is the right thing for me to do, maybe this is not the right thing for me to do. And a lot of times you're learning how to do these things, and you're learning how to do them right because you love it and you don't want to give up. And if it's fun for you to lose yourself in researching an award-winning business card, and finding pictures for that, you might find that time goes away very quickly. But there are times when you are motivated to work, and there are times when you are not motivated to work. And unfortunately, motivation isn't something that comes easily. Sometimes you have to hunt it down with a club. You have to make it work for you. So yeah, I do want you to work hard, but if you start to despair because you have so much to do, it can be really difficult to find that time. But similarly, you can also make those decisions. Hey, I'm going to work an extra 2 hours tonight because I've got to get it done. You're not always going to get what you want every single time. So I kind of come from this background where, because I came from the private sector originally, and I started working in the private sector in 1995. Because I come from this private sector background, there are some activities that are the most money per hour. And so there are some things that you are super, super good at, and you want to set aside as much time as possible for those activities. If you know that you're a good researcher, and every time you put in an hour of research, your project gets really good. And if you put in an hour and a half, you get really, really good. You want to set aside time for the activities that would normally, in the business world, make you the most money. And you want to set aside time as a student for the times when you are most motivated to learn, and then the times that you are most motivated to do. So for instance, if you are motivated to do creative work at 7 o'clock at night, you don't want to work for a half an hour and then stop and do 60 math problems in a row. And don't get me wrong, nobody probably wants to do 60 math problems in a row. But to focus the time when you are most motivated to do the things that you are best at is going to be really, really good. And then to set aside time when you are motivated to do things that are just busy work. When you're so in your case, Sumana, you may have times when you know that you are the most creative, and you want to be creative, 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 creative. And then when you start to get a little tired of that, you may want to switch into something that is a little more mindless and do things that are process oriented. Okay, I'm going to build this layout, and then I'm going to put that layout on 15 pages so that I can go back later and dump in the text and then fix your new materials. So just kind of remember that there are times when you are motivated to do certain things, and I want you to do those things. But if every day you're motivated to stop working, that's not a very fun time for anybody. But the best way to be motivated to get a job done is to understand there's an end point in sight. I'm going to start right now, and I'm going to work hard all day. I'm going to take some breaks and have some time for me. And then I'm going to get the work done. A lot of times people say, I'm going to work hard all day, and at the end of the day, then I'm going to do something that's nice and fun. But what happens is when the end of the day comes, like they are so exhausted, and then they ran that last hour or 2 hours, and they did kind of a careless job. Nobody wants a careless worker on their team. But if you take some breaks, you realize that there are things that are important to you, and you give them important time, you really feel better about yourself.
Right. Yeah.
So I hope that wasn't too preachy, but thank you
No,
very
not
much.
at
I
all.
appreciate that.
Not at all.
Well, it's 11:45 here. this can go until 12:30 if you guys want, but I've kind of covered all my slides. And if you would like to continue to have roundtable discussion, we can discuss. Otherwise, I'm gonna while we are discussing here, I'm gonna share my screen, and I'm going to put the I'm gonna put this. That is the wrong screen. That's not gonna work. Uh, I'm gonna share my screen here, and what I'm gonna do is I am going to open up this tiny URL here, tips working from home. If you'd like, you can download the PDF or the PowerPoint of this item there. So it's a Google slide. You'll be able to get access to everything that's in there. Carrie, did you have any thoughts? I saw that you were still there.
No, I'm good, thanks. I had to step out for a little bit. It got too noisy. But
I
I'm back.
understand. Okay, well, no problem. So this was recorded, and about to finish up here, but I will have that recording, and you can grab these items from this location. So thank you all very much for coming here. Just a gentle reminder that without you guys, I don't have a job. So please continue if you like the programming that we're doing here at the ILC. Make sure to reach out, ask the CompuTutor if there's specific things that you'd like to have talked about, or if you'd like some one-on-one help if you're a student or a coworker, I suppose. And I really appreciate it. Thank you all very much for coming today. I'm going to give you a clap because I got the remote.
Thank you so much.
No problem. And remember, if you do want to reach out, compututor@waketech.edu. And everybody, please have a great day today, okay?
You too,
Thank you.
Tyler.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Now it's come to that awkward time. First things first, I'm going to stop recording. Bye.
Bye.